prepared to be self-sufficient for at least 21 days. That means we bring all our own food, water, energy, power supplies, sleeping, etc.
Tonight, emergency crews from across the West answering new calls for help, this time headed for Florida as another major hurricane closes in. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to West Coast Wrap. I'm Alex Savage. First responders from this part of the country are preparing to help those in Florida facing Hurricane Milton, which right now is a Category 5 storm. Much of that help will come from a Colorado team that's been assisting in Hurricane Helene relief efforts for days now. In addition to that, crews from California and Washington are now headed to Florida. We begin tonight's coverage of this storm with Fox 13's Shira Matsuzawa, who spoke with first responders in the Seattle area who are packing up.
Yeah, 50 Washington State Task Force 1 team members flew out of SeaTac this afternoon. 30 other team members left on Saturday. Now, this is what it looked like when we were at the airport earlier. They're headed to Atlanta, and from there, they'll be deployed to Florida or North Carolina. On Saturday, the team also loaded up 90,000 pounds of equipment into 2 tractor trailers and several trucks. These teams are trained to do various urban search and rescue efforts, which include confined space entry, collapsed buildings, rescues, getting people out of sinkholes, rope technicians, and rescue swimmers. They are the only task force in Washington, and they've been called up to help.
Everybody that's involved with the task force, and that's over 200 firefighters, police officers, doctors, all these individuals are ready to deploy at any moment. So we go on a 3-month cycle, and there's 3 rotations of 80 folks. And when you're up, you know you have the likelihood of deploying anywhere in the country.
This group of responders, they have their best days when the rest of us have our worst. And they're the ones you want to see when that bad day happens.
The team includes search and rescue dog teams, which also help find survivors. Again, the whole team will meet in Atlanta tomorrow, then deploy to either Florida or North Carolina, and they're expected to be there for about 2 weeks, but that could be longer. In the newsroom, Shira Matsuzawa, Fox 13 News.
Meantime, in the Bay Area, a task force based out of the Menlo Park Fire Protection District is deploying right now as part of FEMA's response. Task Force 3 is one of 8 urban search and rescue units in California, and it's been deployed to everything from 9/11 to Hurricane Katrina. The equipment convoy left yesterday for Georgia. In all, they'll be bringing 60,000 pounds of technical rescue equipment, complete with a watercraft, ATVs, and specialized forklift with a hydro extension and crab features.
What we're expecting with this water component is to be able to perform rescues in water, obviously, that is anticipated with a storm, but also you have a lot of structure collapse.
In addition to firefighters from several different departments, they bring along doctors, engineers, and dog handlers, too. They'll be directed by FEMA wherever the damage from Milton is worst. Some Colorado first responders who've been helping in the response to Helene are now headed to Florida. Their next mission is to join other search and rescue teams preparing for Hurricane Milton in Atlanta. This team has been working for several days in storm-damaged communities of North Carolina. Yesterday, the first responders found a missing woman who had been sheltering in what was left of her house in an isolated area of McDowell County. She had not been in contact with any family members since that storm hit. And we spoke earlier with former Bay Area firefighter and former FEMA director Mark Nouveau about the challenges crews on the ground are facing.
This is probably the most devastating hurricane in terms of damage and widespread geographic region, so they're going to be challenged even more. Now, when it comes to the initial part of the hurricanes, it's response. It's life-saving, life-sustaining. So FEMA certainly supports that by way of urban search and rescue teams. They have different technical aspects that they can bring in, but a lot of it is bared the weight by local resources, police, fire, ambulances. So because of that, and Florida being experienced with this, they can handle it.
And Nouveau says it is critical for Florida to remove the debris before Milton arrives to make sure crews can access areas and provide the help that is going to be needed moving forward. Now, people have been evacuating the Tampa area all throughout the day. Let's give you a live look tonight, and you can see traffic is at a standstill here along Highway 19 as people try to get out of the path of this storm. Obviously, we have widespread evacuations, and the storm still 2 days away from making landfall. For more, let's bring in KTVU KTVU meteorologist Rosemary Orozco, obviously tracking the path that we expect that Milton is going to take. And also, Rosemary, we're talking about our weather here in the west where things finally cooling off.
Yes, Alex. Yes and yes. So here's a look at Milton, a Category 5 monster storm at this time. You can see just still days away from moving ashore Florida, but the path here will show us when exactly it is expected to arrive. Right now, the winds at 180 miles per hour. As we mentioned, Category 5 moving east at about 10 miles per hour. It moves through the water into Tuesday. By Wednesday, though, it does begin to come ashore. Right now, it looks like it is going to weaken to a Category 3, still a very strong storm. And right now, it looks like it will come ashore the Tampa Bay area, the first time in more than 100 years that they have taken a direct hit. Also want to point out that it moves across Florida and out into the Atlantic. At least that's the path at this point, which means it is not expected to go up north towards areas of Georgia nor the Carolinas as we get into the coming days. As it does move across Florida, it loses its strength without its water source and turns over to a Category 2, perhaps a Category 1 as it moves across the state. Rainfall amounts right now projected to be anywhere from 5 to 10 inches of rain, some isolated areas to 15. And there is, of course, the storm surge threat with advisories and warnings already in place for the western part of Florida. Anywhere from an 8 to 12-foot storm surge is the prediction right now. Meanwhile, as we come back home, another hot one across the west. Phoenix came in at 110 degrees this afternoon, expected to remain above 100 degrees for tomorrow and into the coming days. California also just baking across the entire state. 102 in Sacramento, 92 reported in San Francisco. Things are going to begin to change as we roll into tomorrow, though, at least for most of the west. Here's a look at the current conditions. 69 degrees in San Francisco, much better than earlier today, although Phoenix still above 100 degrees. As we take a look at the heat advisories that are still in place for the Bay Area, including San Francisco, going to continue until 11 o'clock this evening. And then as we stretch over towards areas of central and southern California, that is where we do continue with the excessive heat warning through at least another hour or so. As we head over towards the desert Southwest, this advisory for the Phoenix area will go until tomorrow night. So slowly losing the heat, although it's been several days. Here's a look at the West Coast satellite. Here's a look at the trough right off the coast. This is what is helping to create the change in the weather pattern, followed by a trough that is going to deepen over the west in the coming days and drop temperatures an additional few, at least to several degrees in some spots, and bring in the possibility of a few scattered showers by the weekend. Here's a look at the forecast for tomorrow afternoon. Again, notice the trough is over California, although still a little bit of a ridge parked over the desert Southwest, and this is a big reason why they do expect to remain hot. A look at the next few days here. San Francisco, delightful. Los Angeles finally going to lose some heat into Wednesday, Thursday, low 80s, but areas over the desert Southwest, including Phoenix, will stay above 100 degrees Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Alex?
But yeah, a lot of folks finally getting a break from that heat. Rosemary, thank you. With just 4 weeks to go now before Election Day, both major presidential campaigns will focus on the West this week. Democratic vice presidential nominee Governor Tim Walz is expected to attend campaign receptions in Seattle and Sacramento tomorrow. Then he'll hold a rally in Reno tomorrow night. His return to Nevada follows last month's postponement of a rally in that area because of the Davis fire that was burning at the time. On Wednesday, Governor Walz has 3 campaign stops planned in Arizona. He's expected to meet with military families in Chandler, outside of Phoenix, and then meet with tribal leaders in the Gila River Indian community. He will wrap up his Arizona visit with a rally happening in Tucson. Republicans have a rally of their own planned for Wednesday night in Tucson. Vice presidential nominee Senator J.D. Vance is expected to attend the rally after taking part in a town hall in Mesa. Early voting in Arizona begins this Wednesday. And the presidential candidates head out west later on this week. Vice President Harris is planning a rally in Arizona on Friday. The exact location has not yet been announced. And former President Trump has a rally planned in Coachella, California, just outside of Palm Springs, happening on Saturday. Both of the presidential nominees mark the one-year anniversary of Hamas's terrorist attacks on Israel. Late today, former President Trump attended a remembrance ceremony in Miami, saying the attacks were full of, quote, chilling savagery.
We send our love to every innocent soul who remains in Hamas captivity. We just are not going to stand for it. We're not going to take it. We're not going to take it any longer. We pray that through the darkness they know that we have not forgotten them, that we have not forsaken them. We will never forsake them, and we will never abandon them.
Vice President Kamala Harris marked the anniversary with a tree planting ceremony in Washington, D.C. She said the tree is dedicated to the 1,200 people who died in the attacks, and she reaffirmed her commitment to support Israel.
We must work to ensure nothing like the horrors of October 7 can ever happen again. And on this solemn day, I will restate my pledge to always ensure that Israel has what it needs to defend itself.
Somber ceremonies were held across Israel today to honor the lives lost in the attacks. Hamas marked this anniversary by firing a barrage of rockets at Tel Aviv, underscoring its resilience after a year of war and devastation in Gaza. Sirens went off across Israel during those attacks, sending many people to the ground to take cover. Pro-Palestinian marches happened all across this country today. Fox 11's Christina Gonzalez shows us how some communities in Los Angeles stepped up security for this anniversary.
A pro-Palestinian rally at UCLA, not far from where pro-Jewish students groups have set up flag memorials remembering the victims of the October 7th attack on Israel. Extra security on the Westwood campus, as well as USC in downtown LA, where this was happening.
Gonna block some traffic.
Pro-Palestinian marches, timed to coincide with a day being remembered by Jews all over the city. On Pico and Robertson.
We have officers out here on horseback, on foot, and in vehicles. This is a community that has reached out to us and said, look, we're in fear. This is a big anniversary for us.
Why one resident says she decided to hang out near her son's school today.
I came here today. I just said I'm gonna walk.
Do you feel better seeing the police out here? Do you get concerned about safety here?
I'm so happy, and thank you for LAPD. I feel much better and much safer for my kids, for the Jewish community.
It's an unfortunate reality of what it means to be Jewish today.
The senior rabbi of the Wilshire Boulevard Temple at a remembrance event showcasing Israel-bound ambulances donated by locals. Their visits to LA area schools today low-key due to security concerns as they try to avoid protesters. At UCLA, security hoping to keep both sides away from one another.
And that was Fox 11's Christina Gonzalez reporting for us tonight from Southern California. The FBI and the Department of Homeland Security did put out a joint statement in the run-up to this anniversary, saying that it could potentially motivate extremists. Coming up tonight here on West Coast Wrap, a dispute on a busy Utah freeway ends with gunfire. What authorities say led up to this shooting that left one driver dead. Plus, life-changing care for animals in need. What led to the opening of this unique Washington farm that creates prosthetics for animals. We have an update tonight on the California firefighters involved in that serious crash while they were on their way to help the victims of Hurricane Helene. Most of the first responders based in San Diego have now returned home. Many of them were greeted late last night by fellow firefighters with hugs and applause. 2 team members who were critically injured in that crash do remain hospitalized tonight in Louisiana. San Diego Fire Rescue Chief Robert Logan says this situation has been extremely tough for everyone in his department.
Before they were married with kids, so it was overwhelming emotionally, but I'm glad that I was able to be there for them and their families in this dire time of need.
One task force member stayed behind in Louisiana to support the firefighters who remain in the hospital. Another firefighter injured in the crash was released from the hospital last week. 18 people have been detained for public drug use after authorities staged an operation in one Portland neighborhood. They targeted the areas around a few transit stations where they learned the problem was extreme. Fox 12's Carly Olson has more tonight from those who use the stops regularly.
Later in the evening, they'll be on this middle, like on the benches and whatnot.
Jason Thomas was homeless for 8 years until recently, and though he never used drugs himself, he says he continues to see plenty in the area around the Gateway Transit Center.
There's a lot of drug use. A lot of people don't want to use shelters because they have to go through recovery programs.
Well, working security as I do, I can witness a lot of drug activity.
Timothy Cronin tells us based on his observations, he's not surprised this spot was chosen for a police operation.
It would be either heroin and fentanyl. I've been seeing a lot of fentanyl tubes and heroin caps on the TriMet stations and everything.
It's one of 3 locations in the Hazelwood neighborhood where Portland Police and the Multnomah County Sheriff's Office cracked down on drug use last Wednesday. Others near Max train stops on 122nd Avenue and 148th Avenue. They say they arrested 18 people and recovered more than 1,400 grams of fentanyl, 33 grams of heroin, and 1,000 blue fentanyl pills.
I think it definitely makes me feel safer.
Writer Cajun Russell says he doesn't agree with throwing people in jail when they're struggling with addiction and need help. But he says the recriminalization of hard drugs, which happened via House Bill 4002, probably did help reduce the issue.
Yeah, it's definitely getting a lot better. It's rarer now, I think, to see people like openly using drugs or dealing drugs than it was at one point.
TriMet tells us that they're grateful for the Sheriff's Office's role in their Transit Police Division. And their statement read in part, while we work to provide whatever support we can during their missions on or around TriMet property, the increase in community safety that operations like this bring are a true testament to their hard work and dedication. Regardless of their views, those we spoke to agreed there's a benefit to police involvement in these cases.
I mean, now we can, take effort or make efforts to reduce that kind of stuff.
I really appreciate them cracking down on drugs because I think that families deserve to be like we've lost track of the family environment, especially in this area.
Yes, I am glad. In the area, I'm glad with the TriMet stations and all that, because I don't want to be witnessing overdoses, and I don't want to, that's hard to witness, and you can't come back from that.
And that was Fox 12's Carly Olson reporting tonight. The Portland Police Bureau and the Multnomah County Sheriff's Department were asked to comment on the operation, but have not responded. Deputies in Oregon say a child climbed from the wreckage of a deadly car crash and went to get help. This all happened yesterday in Cowlitz County, about 55 miles southeast of Portland. The car veered off the road and wound up down an embankment. There were 3 children inside, ages 2, 7, and 9, who were all taken to the hospital with injuries. Authorities say the man driving the car died at the scene. And they also say one of those children inside climbed out of the car after it came to rest and went to flag down a passing driver who then called 911. The cause of this crash is being investigated still. Just months after a new law took effect in Utah to crack down on road rage drivers, a new case of violence on a busy freeway left one person dead today. Fox 13's Jenna Bree shows us how state troopers rushed to the scene of that shooting in Salt Lake City.
Anytime road rage happens on our freeway is a concern for us.
Just before 5:30 a.m. Monday morning, Lieutenant Cameron Roden says 2 cars collided on State Route 201 near the 900 West off-ramp, and one driver fired shots at the other.
From our early investigation, this appears to be a road rage incident that escalated into a shooting.
Officials kept the highway closed for hours.
Anytime you close a major interstate like this, it really snarls traffic and causes, especially during that morning commute when you're having a lot of people traveling, it really has made a mess of traffic.
Lieutenant Roden says the Utah Highway Patrol is addressing road rage.
Oh my my gosh!
Road rage has become a major problem in our state.
In a video posted this summer, UHP reminds drivers about Utah's new law cracking down on road rage.
We're hoping that this new law helps to give law enforcement a tool to help us to counteract road rage and get people to think twice about any type of road rage situation, that not only is it dangerous for all the parties involved, but the ramifications that can happen from road rage are severe.
Since July, when that law went into effect, Lieutenant Roden says officers have seen more than 40 road rage incidents. While many didn't escalate quite like this one did, he says it's important that they're keeping track of just how often road rage is happening.
We want to make sure that people maintain control of their emotions, that we help get people to and from, and that people can travel on our roadways here in Utah safely.
In Salt Lake City, Jenna Bree, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Tonight, we are getting a good look at the damage left behind after a car drove all the way through a home in California's Central Valley. Fresno police shared images of what happened on Friday. Investigators say 2 people were home at the time when that car plowed right through the front of the house and went all the way out the back. Incredibly, the driver and the people at that home survived, all of them reporting only minor bumps and scrapes. But that house has now been red tagged because of the structural damage. Investigators tonight are still trying to figure out what caused the driver to lose control. Coming up here on West Coast Wrap tonight, a Washington animal lover running a unique farm. Tonight, see how she's making it possible for animals to live lives that many thought were impossible. Also, a days-long party is underway in New Mexico. It's a lot of what you would expect from a festival, but we'll show you how the stars of this show are up in the sky. A Washington woman is on a mission to help animals with special needs. She explained to Fox 28's Melinda Lee why she is so passionate about her work.
There can be hope. There's hope.
Hope looks like this 2-legged dog, Gracie, or this 3-legged pony, Prince.
We're helping these animals live longer just by simply bracing them and supporting them.
Animals that arrive to Angela Bonds' farm in Spangle in need of a new limb, she gives them a new life.
It's the difference between having an animal put down and actually helping them so that it can fulfill a normalcy to their life. The difference is euthanasia and living a...
Angela can't help getting emotional, knowing the custom orthotic and prosthetic devices she makes for any animal in need.
I've created a little wheelchair for a skunk once. I built a lemur brace. We get a lot of donkeys, alpacas. We get a lot of the farm animals. I've done thousands, 10, 20,000 probably, braces, prosthetics.
Thousands of critters she's helped experience this same joy you're seeing in Gracie, who was born deformed, needed an amputation, then sent to Angela by a veterinarian. She's working on a new leg for Gracie now.
So I actually graduated from Spokane Falls Community College through the orthotic and prosthetic technician program there. So I started in the human world.
And one of the orthotics Angela made is her own.
You don't have to spend $6,000 on a surgery. There's other options.
For Angela, it's a passion that started growing up on her grandmother's farm and continues to be a family affair as she runs her specialized Pet Solutions Orthocare fabrication alongside her sister, Christy.
Animals are way easier than humans.
Laughs and life-changing efforts. These sisters plan to continue to share so more animals can live their best life. Reporting in Spangle, I'm Melinda Lee.
And finally tonight, the annual Albuquerque International Balloon Festival got started on Saturday. The 9-day festival includes daily flights of hot air balloons.